He said Americans are genetically European and everyone else is just a guest.
Play that back.
Americans are genetically European and everyone else is a guest.
Well, what he's created there is a demarcation line of the Caucasian individuals who apparently established America and began to industrialize it. That's the way that I say it. So that I think that's a hard argument to have because there's been so many waves of immigration over the past couple hundreds of years in America, right? And so when do you make that demarcation line to say like, okay, America's been established, everybody else is now a guest? Where is he putting that line? That's the question.
I don't know. That was kind of the premise, and I thought about it.
1776? Is that the line?
I thought about it a little bit, and if that argument is true, or if it has any validity to that argument, then isn't it on that said people? Isn't it their responsibility to keep the society and culture the way it's supposed to be? You can't blame other people for infiltrating a culture. People are always trying to infiltrate a culture. The Chinese have done a good job of staying Chinese. The Koreans have done a phenomenal job of staying Korean. The Japanese have done a good job of staying Japanese. Americans, if they're like, oh yeah, like Americans are supposed to be white Americans, white Europeans, then like you've done a shit job at that.
They have. In America.
In America.
Right.
Well, in Europe too.
And yeah, I saw a recent statistic that in London, like this year, more than 50% of London now will be immigrants and multivariant cultures, not actually natives.
Yeah.
That's crazy to think of. The major city on this island is no longer culturally English.
Yeah.
It's gone. And it will never return.
I mean, but that same argument can be made for here, right?
I think we have...
Because at least UK... They had kind of a UK history.
Yeah.
What is American history?
Well, that's what the liberals like to tear us down about. They're like, our history is a bunch of massacres and all we did was just rape and pillage the world. It's like, that's happening today, actually, more than ever in African countries and other countries. Like, it's happening all that. Raping and pillaging and taking over. What about this Ukraine thing? Like, it happens all the time. That's the nature of man. And so I find it to be a weak argument to say that that there's immigration to the point, and then it's now America, but we're not doing a good job of keeping America, because no one's actually defined what American culture should be.
Yes, or is.
Or that's even what should American culture? Because if you look at America, if I were an alien, let's abstract ourselves. If I were an alien today and I were to fly into America, like what would I see? I would see the youth being focused on hip-hop and degenerate culture, right? I'd see the youth focused on video games and influencers, these weird people that dance around and punch people in the face and get lots of likes for it. I'd see the older generation creating policies that only benefit for themselves even though they're going to die, and the younger generation is stuck with a mountain of debt. And I'd see an essential – I would see probably no common thread in the American culture that were to say these people are united for a purpose. That's probably, if I were an alien today and I were to land in America, I'd say you guys are fractured, decentralized, and lack alignment is probably what I'd see. And
the country says we believe in freedom of speech, but yet you can't talk about certain things. They say that we believe in freedom of rights and individual, except you can't do certain things. We believe that the United States is a democracy and this is an experiment democracy, except it's more representative and the system is rigged and the people that make the decisions don't actually listen to the voice of the people that they're supposed to represent.
Totally.
So that isn't true. So what is it then? Because, people are like, oh, like especially when we're doing the Indian argument, like all these Indians are coming in, they're going to change the culture.
Yes.
And I'm thinking like when Koreans come to the United States, I don't think anyone comes into the United States going, oh, we want to change Korea into America. I mean, we want to change America into Korea. Like, that's not a thing.
That's not a thing.
At all.
Not a thing.
Most especially first generation Koreans, when they come to the United States, they think of themselves as, this is America, and we are guests here, and we want to create a lifestyle where maybe our future generations can assimilate or have a better life.
Yeah.
They don't come here thinking we want America to become Korea.
You just brought up a very good point. Very good point. There are some cultures that you and I have noticed that take a particular stance and a particular focus on changing America to their design, to their worldviews. Where we have also noticed, like Koreans and say Japanese, are not the type of cultures to come in and say, hey, you're not doing it my way, right? But there are some cultures that we can call out that are very focused on making sure that their philosophies, their worldviews, their models are not only well known, but we should, as America, change our policies to suit them. What do you think it is in a culture that moves men and women in that culture to want to proselytize and evangelize and force their culture on other people? What's that difference?
Well, so we have APAC that is very much involved in United States politics.
Right.
And APAC, they say it's American, and maybe it kind of is.
No, it's not. It can't be American because it's Israeli.
Yeah.
Israeli's not American.
You know,
We can't conflate these two ideas.
Well,
it's like saying that Japan is American. It's not.
Israeli and Israeli Americans support APAC and donate into APAC. But do you know who the biggest donors in the APAC are?
I'm going to say it's probably the stupid Christians.
It's like the deep South Christians of like Texas.
Why? Why?
All the Texas mega churches are all Zionist churches.
Why is that, Matt?
I feel like that's an episode for another day. Judeo-Christian.
You know, I've been
coming soon. Judeo-Christian value episode coming soon.
I have a new word. Can I tell it to you?
Islamic Judeo-Christian.
No. It's a word, and I hope everyone that's listening, you start picking it up because I conceived of this word. I didn't come up with it. I'm sure someone said it before, but I thought of it, and I was like, this is a great. We should call them Judeo-communism. I think Judeo-communism is a much more appropriate word considering the patterns of that ethnicity over historical time.
Judeo-Marxism?
I like Judeo-communism. I like Judeo-communism because if you think about like the Bolshevik revolution, you think about the uprising in other European countries in the past, you see like, you know, the Gulf of Tonkin, you see like the USS Liberty, you see a lot of these patterns, and it seems like the ones that are generally moving into power are these certain Semitic individuals, and they're always promoting this communist ideology, which, if I remember correctly, wasn't Karl Marx also a Juden?
Well, and funny, in Korea, they call them Judeans.
That's why I brought it up, Judean.
Judean, which means person from Judea.
Yep.
Which is interesting.
And if you go into the deepest, longest history of Korean and Japanese and Chinese lore, when they have drawings of the devil and those evil demons, they all have these like long noses.
Do they?
And they all have these black hats, like these little black squares where their pineal gland is. Do you know what I'm talking about?
About to find a picture.
Hey, Will, could you bring up a picture of a old, let's just say...
Is he talking about dokebis?
Maybe.
No, I'm talking about the old pictures of demons in samurai lore and in Korean lore in the past. Whenever you see these demons, they have these long noses and they have these little black squares on their heads.
I feel like Peter's thinking about the meme.
Is there a meme? All I know is that when
Everything has a meme.
when I look into history past, there's the Judeo-communists have been around for a long time. So I like this terminology. I'm going to use it more. Judeo-communist. I think that's appropriate because
let me see this pic.
Judeo-Christian. Because we were talking about Judeo-Christian, like all these Southern Baptists, all these Southern Christian churches that are all Judeo-Christian. That seems counterintuitive, Matt. Seems like it's the wrong theme.
So APAC obviously and Israel has a huge impact on American society and government and politics, etc.
But they're just a minority. So how do they have so much power, Matt?
But if you go to other countries, United States has a lot of impact on other countries' politics and government and society.
Yeah, because we're the world police.
Is it different?
Well,
Isn't it one country forcing their ideology and beliefs and values on another population. For example, Squid Games, which is one of the most popular shows Korea's ever done. And all of a sudden, you got to do a season 2. Netflix gets involved, gives them a bunch of money. And of course, you have a trans character.
So not everyone is up to date with the social apparatus and the coolest shows out there. When you say Squid Games, Matt, what is Squid Games?
Everyone knows what Squid Game
Not
is.
everybody knows what Squid Game is. Not everybody knows what Squid Game is.
Can you guys flame Peter for saying that he doesn't know what Squid Game is?
I'm just trying to make sure that people don't get lost in this highly
People are in the know.
sophisticated conversation about squids and games. Like, what is Squid Games? It's a Korean export.
Yes, it's a Korean export from Korea. And yeah, and of course Netflix gets involved, and they have to have a trans character, which is crazy because there's no trans people in Korea.
You got, if I may say, you got pretty hot and bothered about that, man.
I've been thinking about it a lot.
Tell me more. Why did you get so hot and bothered about it?
I think I've been thinking about Korea a lot recently, more than I did in the past.
You're not becoming like Korea first, are you?
Well,
You're not becoming radicalized, are you?
If you are an Israeli first guy, if you are, which is a huge, like 60% of our government. If you are an Israeli first person, man, woman, them, if you are one of them, then you are trying to change U.S. policy in order to benefit Israel. You're trying to donate money to certain SPACs or causes or policies or bills or candidates in order to benefit Israel policy.
This is absolutely true. Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
That's how that works.
Yep.
There's no debate there.
Yeah, no debate. And actually, if we're intellectually honest, the world police that the America is actually just a sock puppet of AIPAC. Because AIPAC is the hand that goes through the anal all the way up to the mouth of America and says, we're going to do this. And Americans just say, yes, Amasa, let's do it. Whatever Israel wants.
If you are a Korean and you are Korea first in America, you want United States to not be involved in Korean politics. You want United States to not give more money and more influence. You want them to do less. You are not trying to change the rules and laws around the country in which you are in order to benefit the other country, home country that you come from. It is extremely different.
That is an interesting way of putting it, Matt. I've never thought of it that way. You are absolutely right.
Israeli First wants to change U.S. policy to benefit Israel.
Yes.
Korea First wants U.S. to leave Korea alone.
Yeah. It's like
It's completely different.
it's the problem that we have in America is that in America you can have one point of fact. 50% of the America looks at that one point of fact and sees it this way.
Yes.
50% of America sees the same fact and sees it this way. So what you're saying is that when Korea says, or Japan says, Korea first, Japan first, that's essentially saying, America, get your stinky boot off our neck and leave us alone. Let us do us.
We don't need 20 military bases. We don't need 30,000 troops. We don't need the government saying you can do this, you can't do this, you can trade it with
Get
this,
out of
you
our
can't trade it with
business.
that. Let the country that's been around and the people that have been around for 4,000 plus years figure their own shit out.
Yes. And you're saying in juxtaposition to that, there are some cultures where they say them first, and it's all about imposing their will on everybody else.
Again, no one from Korea comes to the United States going, we want to change how America is. No. People that come from Korea come to America because America is America.
So I think it's important that we extrapolate this because I think it's important to show not only the dichotomy, but the massive scale that most are on. So Japanese first, leave us alone. Let Japan do it. Korea, leave us alone. Germans, all right, Swiss, Australians, I could go to Singaporeans, Chinese. We can go all the way down the line. Every single country, Brazil, Argentina, right? Everyone says when they say their country first, it means America, leave us alone.
Let us take care of our own shit.
But there's this one people group on the other side is what you're saying. In contrast, when they say Israel first, it means
change the way you do things to accommodate us.